Hope everyone's having a good full moon. Just wanted to give a little update here in the market since we are on this full moon day and we are actually freaking pumping and not dumping into it. Well, we did, I guess. You can see we kind of pulled into this full moon. And if you're in the Magic Mushies Discord, I did say it's probably just a good time to buy Sol here at under 40 bucks. It was at like 39.4 or something, like right down there at the bottom basically. And if you bought that 39 and a half, it pumped up like 14% already in like a day, which is pretty crazy. But this just shows that the full moon doesn't have to be exact bottom like it was in these last two iterations. Here in the June full moon, you can see the wick bottom was like exactly on the day of the full moon, and then it pumped up 60% before getting rejected at this previous high over here. And then we kind of came back and traded again and then made a higher low again on the full moon perfectly on the day of it, and then pumped 46% right into the golden pocket with this fib drawn from this relief top here all the way to the bottom. You can see we hit the golden pocket once, came back down to this 55, which is pretty bullish after we crossed these moving averages. After we crossed above the 55 here, you can see when we came back to the 55, we used it as support and then bounced again and hit this golden pocket one more time before getting rejected again since the full moon was coming up. And you can see this bottom here was 8 days before the full moon, which is infinity obviously, and we're also in the 8th month of the year, August, so that's interesting to note. And now the full moon is here, and you can see we kind of had like a little higher low again from this moment. Always these higher lows, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. Every single low is getting higher, and if we keep getting them, if we can break above this golden pocket and start closing into it, then I can see us easily going up to this 888 here perhaps, or getting rejected at 50 bucks because that's like the psychological area. But this 55 area where this 800 moving average is on the daily, this 888 fib is always a good spot to get kind of rejected at, or to buy at if you're doing a bearish pull. So basically that's the upward target for Sol for maybe until this new moon, which is on the 27th, I believe. So like even just from here, that's a nice 27% pump to this 55. And of course we can go higher, we can not go that high, we can just die at 50, but still the chart is looking pretty bullish. You can see it's holding this 55 moving average. The moving averages are all above it, and we're just bouncing and holding this support really well. And if we start closing above these fibs and get into this golden pocket, start closing candles in there, that's when we can start seeing some kind of movement back up a bit higher. But this RSI is not too overheated or anything. And if we look on the weekly chart, you can see that we're holding above this 8 simple moving average, and now it's going to start curling up. And what you want to see on the weekly chart, basically, you can see how spread out all these moving averages are going down here. Like there's a lot of room here, so we want to start getting this 8 moving average kind of crossing up through these and getting bullish again. But of course we know Shemitah is coming, and you can already kind of see these moving averages. They're going to start going towards these lines here that I drew, especially this red one, the 34 simple or EMA I should say. It's going to go into this zone here I've drawn in like the 60 to 66 area. That would be interesting to kind of come up here on the weekly chart and get rejected there and then go back down further. Of course on the weekly we can go all the way up to 113 and hit this 55, but for that to happen, like going into the end of Shemitah, like I feel like there would have to be some kind of crazy like catalyst to get people excited again. And then on this weekly chart, you can also see this trend line I drew here, downtrend. Obviously, a couple of hits riding this down, then you got another pump up right to this, and then kind of the end of Shemitah lines up with this kind of 60, 70 area here, hitting this moving average, or sorry, this trend line one more time before getting rejected again. It's probably a good bet, I would say. I wouldn't really count on us like getting above this too much really. It's like this 70 to 80 area here, we could kind of flash up there fast, but then come back. So those are kind of targets for Sol. And if we do go down, like I said in the previous video, like 38, 37 is pretty strong. And if 33 doesn't hold, like I think that's when we'll start having problems. But for now, everything looks pretty bullish. And it is the full moon. It is time to buy. I mean, we did just pump a bit. So maybe if you look at the lower time frames, you can see there is some room for pullback here to like 41 or so. Perhaps kind of hit these moving averages, bounce off of them one more time. Yeah, 41 to 42. You can see on the hourly chart is a decent spot. And yeah, Sol's looking pretty good here. And if we take a look at ETH, got this parallel channel I had going here, which we just broke above after getting rejected from it right before the full moon, and then into the full moon here we had this little bottom at 1650-ish, and it's already up like 16-17% in a day and a half or whatever, which is pretty crazy. But you can see we're closing above the parallel channel. All the moving averages are getting spread out here. They're all above this white. Even the white 55 is starting to curve up, so that's a good sign. But you can see these 200s are approaching here with this 800. So we're approaching some resistance here on ETH at around 2K, which is obviously psychological resistance as well. So that would be interesting to see what happens there with ETH and how it kind of reacts with this parallel channel, which I'm going to keep going here just to see what happens, because we had a couple interesting touches here. Like back down here, we touched the bottom of it, then got rejected. And then here again, we kind of wicked to it before coming back to the top of it and then playing around in it a bit. So yeah, ETH is looking extremely bullish as well. More bullish than Sol, obviously, because we're just going up, breaking into this previous structure here, which is not what Sol's structure looks a little bit different, but yeah, we haven't gotten to that area yet exactly. It's kind of more flat for Sol, more gradual. And then if you look at Bitcoin, you can see we're still a ways away from this kind of area here. Like it still has a decent amount just to even get to the bottom of it. And ETH's already past that, so, or like into that zone, getting ready to break above it even, really start flirting with these moving averages here, which we got rejected from in this fake bull trap up here. And then of course ever since we've been under them still, so I would expect resistance here for sure, 2300 for ETH, which is still like a 20% pump. And then perhaps it comes back down, retests this channel, and then maybe kind of just rides in the channel, wicks down to the bottom of it, kind of bounces in and out of it. But I think we kind of ride this trend up all the way until Shemitah around this area here, and then just see what happens after that. But if we look on the weekly chart for ETH as well, you can see we dumped down to these 200 moving averages, and now we're bouncing up. The 8 moving average is curling up really sharply here. As you can see, we had this big dump down. This is crazy. This is a weekly chart. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, like 11 weeks in a row for ETH. 11, that's funny actually. It's master number. But it dumped 75% in 11 weeks. And then now we're up 118%, which is funny because today is 11/8. But you can see how fast this dumped and then how fast it could recover all the way into Shemitah. If it hits these targets, it'll be like this big, like pretty exaggerated V shape going here, which ETH is kind of used to, I guess. Like these are shorter pump and dumps or whatever, but we are approaching this resistance up here. We got this 55 moving average up there, the 34 EMA. So if ETH does go up here, it'll be really interesting to see what happens, to see how far it can go till the end of Shemitah. But 22 to 2300 is like the big zone I'm kind of watching. If it goes up higher to like this 28 area, that'd be like the highest I can see it really going, because this 55 simple is I doubt that's gonna get broken before Shemitah. Probably just easy rejection off of that and then roll back down to retest these low areas and see what happens from there. And then just to get into Bitcoin here a little bit, because it does drive the whole market. We're in this little parallel channel as well for Bitcoin. I drew from these bottom wicks to this candle close here with these wicks. And you can see we tested this channel here today, and then now we're kind of getting rejected a little bit. But interestingly, we are holding this heart line here, the center of this channel. You can see we dumped from it once after the new moon up here. We dumped to it once, kind of pumped, and then dumped again right before the full moon. And now we're pumping again. Moving averages are all looking good. The 55 is curling up. There still is this room to kind of come back down and test this 55. That doesn't mean we have to test it right away. We could pump until the new moon. And then on that pullback, this 55 could end up kind of getting to this heart line maybe, something like that. And then if we kind of go like this and then come back to this heart line again with this moving average, and if you bounce off of that one more time into the end of Shemitah or whatever, that would be pretty freaking bullish, I would say. So we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens there. Oops. But this heart line is holding right now. This moving average is looking good. It's curling up. All these EMAs are holding. You can see it. Oh, they're the ones holding it too with this heart line. And now they're all curling up, and they're going to start spreading out and fanning out. Most likely, since we are on a full moon, this is a bottom zone. So, it's like I said for the soul chart, like lower lows. This June full moon, July full moon, and then now August full moon. Higher low, higher low, higher low. Just really bullish. Of course, we're pivoting out of this with these full moon bottoms. No surprise to me. I've been saying this since I started sharing my TA stuff in February or whatever in the Magic Mushies Discord. But yeah, so just a little update. Kind of the same thing I was talking about before, just didn't get the pullback I was kind of showing before for this full moon. Looks like we're just going to get bullish. The CPI was bullish and nobody really cares. And yeah, Solana is going to be touching this golden pocket again here soon, so that'll be really interesting right by this full moon. But I wouldn't be surprised if we just blasted through it. And just had like a 10% pump day here soon for ETH or Solana. To be honest, like yesterday it was an 8% pump for ETH and only a 5% pump for Sol, but we've seen these big moves happen before many times with both of these. Bitcoin not so much lately, but look at this 17% pump for Sol in one day. Like some of these candles are pretty big, like double digits, 11, 12, 11. So kind of get ready for that, I would say. And yeah, this 55, like I was saying with this 800, that'd be the next kind of big area if we get above 50, I would say, to kind of take profits and watch out for, especially around the new moon. If we're in that low 50s area, we'll probably get rejected and come back down into this golden pocket maybe, and then kind of keep going up into the end of Shemitah and start hitting these highs, perhaps into these levels I've drawn here into the 60s and 70s. But yeah, overall, still bullish until the end of Shemitah. That's my bias right now, and today's a full moon, so technically it's a time to buy. You have 20 to 30% easily potential pumps coming up here. Yeah, I think people are just going to get faked out here going into Shemitah, and they won't know what's coming. They'll think the market's reversing, and then all of a sudden everything just rolls over again. We hit a little top. Hopefully the market feels very euphoric and everyone's all excited and everything, because then it'll be pretty easy to sell without any doubt or anything like that. So yeah, just kind of wanted to give you guys this little quick update, and yeah, let's keep pumping.